Hello. This is Dirty Trucking. Didn't think I was gonna have this many videos all in one day, but a while back I posted a video about my excessive fuel gauge. It was raising up a notch up when it shouldn't have been. It was raising too high after fueling, and I get back to the yard, it looked like I done drove out of the state and back. This is the second newer truck that's the same model as mine, same year as mine. Somehow I keep getting trucks where I have a fueling problem, and this is where they've been ripping me off. They used to rip me off over the road this way. I would get a truck, I'll fuel, I barely go anywhere. My notch, my level would be went up a notch, even with the truck here, and I found that strange. Now, this is 2 days in a row I've been in the newer trucks that is the exact same as mine, same model, same year, and their fuel gauges barely move with the driving I was doing. Mine, if I fuel, now I just drove this truck from our furthest landfill that I go to all the way back to the yard, and this truck's fuel gauge is still on full. If I had done that in my truck, my fuel gauge would be almost up to the second notch from the same location. And I believe this is how they've been ripping me off, making it seem like I need all this fuel, and somehow something must be going on at the fuel pump, and I ended up paying for it, especially when I was an independent contractor. But this is strange, so I'm gonna show you what I'm talking about. Now, I'm in this truck. I just drove all the way from our furthest landfill. That's about maybe 40, 50 mile drive, and I fuel there. His fuel gauge is still on full. Me, if I had a fuel there and pulled out and drove all the way back here, my fuel gauge is usually in between here, in between the second and third notch, every time. Even when I fuel at our shortest one and come back to the yard, by the time I get back to the yard, it's up on the first notch. And I'm finding it strange that I keep getting these trucks, and shortly after I get it, I start noticing this weird fuel gauge shit going on. It's rising up too quick for the short miles that I'm doing. Now, this is 2 trucks of theirs that I've been in, and neither one of those trucks or fuel gauge is doing what mine is doing. And it's making it look like I'm paying out this company is paying out a high fuel bill off that truck, and I'm fueling more often. And I think it's a way they've been rigging this shit to make it look like you need this fuel, and somehow at the pump, because you can't really watch the flow of the fuel in there because it's sticking over the tank, somehow they doing something, and with the numbers on the tank, you end up paying more, making it look like you need to fill up. Now, the way this truck fueling is, this guy look like, this truck looks like it can run all day, do 4 trips, and probably just be up to the first notch. My truck, I do 4 trips, I'm at half a tank. By the 4th, all day, half a tank. That's in one day. But this truck looks like if I was driving this truck and did 4 trips in it, it looked like it would only move up a notch. This is how I ended up having excessive high fuel bills, because every time I get a truck, I had noticed my fuel gauges start fluctuating, and I used to complain about it. 1 minute it fluctuated, next minute it was back to normal. I have a high bill, then it was back to normal. I think it was being controlled somehow. Every truck I get ain't having no float problem. Every truck I get ain't supposed to be having no fuel problem. But this is mighty strange that I'm in this truck and just drove all the way back, and it ain't moved off of full. But mine does. Mine be between the second and third notch. This is the way they was beating me out of my money fueling. I've had trucking companies, the Western Express even told me, you had an excessive high fuel bill. One, you was running me up north over there by Maine, Pennsylvania all the time. That was part of it. But it was excessive. Even other trucking companies, my fuel bill was just excessive. I get the truck, everything be cool with the fuel, then all of a sudden I start noticing this fluctuation. Like almost as if somebody done found out what rig I'm in. Once I get hooked to their company computer, this little shit starts. This is how I believe I've been scammed out my money through fueling over the road trucking. And it's happening here, but it's not my truck. Why do I keep getting these trucks and all of a sudden I start having these fluctuations in the fuel gauge? I mean, this is ridiculous. It's impossible that I've driven the same distance in this truck that I do in my truck, and the fuel gauge hasn't moved. It's still on full. This is the fueling scam shit that I believe was going on out there, because I kept trying to figure out how the hell they was doing that. It's something rigged at the pump when they ringing it up, and it's something they able to do, because most of these trucks are big, whether you know it or not. I bet you don't know, the dealership can actually log into your truck from the dealership. I found that out in a Kenworth truck, local. They was able to sit at their computer and look in, and log into the truck and see what was going on with the truck. So when they have that capability, ain't no telling what else they were doing. I found that out locally when I had a newer Kenworth, and it had the same shit going on. Every truck I get always got to end up in the shop for some death problem. Happened with that damn newer truck, that Kenworth, at the last company I was working with. End up in the shop with a death. Soon as I got here, the truck I was in, it ended up in the dealership for a death issue. Same issues keep happening over and over again. Ain't nobody caught on to this. I keep having the same exact issues. This is how they was ripping me off. I didn't need no death. I didn't need nothing repaired as far as that. And that excessive fueling is rigged. They made it appear that the truck needed that kind of fuel. Rung it up, I needed that kind of fuel. And somebody somewhere is getting the money off of it. That's how they was ripping my ass off. And this is proof. 2 trucks I've been in of theirs, yesterday and today. Neither one of their trucks fuel gauge moves like mine. But I'm in this one, it's still on full. That just been my truck. I've been between the 2nd and 3rd notch. I kid you not. This is dirty trucking. With this fueling rip-off, I'm trying to figure out how the hell they was doing that and why my fuel gauge keep doing that, and I just been in 2 different trucks and theirs not. Strange. That's how they got all that money out of me. All that money out of me. Fueling. That's the biggest expense of an independent contractor. It's fueling and then maintenance. They was ripping me off fueling. Why are you ripping me off? And I'm looking at this, and I keep telling this, but ain't nobody doing that. Ain't nobody caught this. Every truck, same issue. I get in the truck, they got to get it to the dealership with a death issue. Then you did it with 2 local trucks since I've been home. Hey, is it a coincidence? It's a bullshit or a scam? You can take me off your scam list. I'm tired of you ripping me off. I done caught on, and I'm gonna start paying attention more, getting these videos out, because this is unbelievable bullshit. I just drove all the way from my father's landfill, and this fuel gauge on this truck ain't moved at all. Not in my truck. My shit be damn near to the 3rd notch. This dirty trucking with that fuel report. Peace out.